Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. Today is, it's the 26th, it's a Friday of April 2024. Thank you for tuning in. Now, what is history in the future going to show us very clearly? That unless you have a stable monetary system, unless you have a stable currency that doesn't fluctuate in its value from during long periods of time, if you're working with something like fiat currencies, money by decree, that it will lead to war in the end. A Ponzi scheme monetary system it creates instability in the world geopolitically. That's what we're going to need to learn from this. And we're going to need to learn the hard way. That be very careful how you set up your monetary system and how you structure it in the future, you know. But anyway, let's move on. We got to get in here. There's a lot we got to talk about today. I can get the most to work. The Ukraine, we were talking about those ATACMS missiles that the United States has sent in Ukraine. And the United Kingdom defense chief says that Ukraine is to increase its long-range strikes within Russia. So they've just approved a defense package, $60 billion for Ukraine, more, I guess. The United Kingdom Britain has announced its largest aid package to Ukraine yet, an equivalent of $620 million. So they're sending these arms in. They're sending these long-range arms in. What I mean by that is basically they're long-range rockets that can attack inside Russia, and they're gonna mostly right now they're focusing on Crimea with these long-range ATACMS type weapons. It says Defense Minister Grant Shapps, for example, had this to say: "This record package of military aid will give President Zelensky and his brave nation more of the kit or equipment that they need to kick Putin out and restore peace and stability in Europe." That just basically says it all. Kick Putin out and restore peace and stability in Europe. It says the United Kingdom has provided NLAW missiles. Evidently, I don't know if they're long range or not. And the first to send long range missiles. He says, now we're going even further, and we'll let the world forget this existential battle Ukraine is fighting. With our enduring support, they will win. And so the hope is here, by the NATO forces, is with these new long-range weapons, they're actually looking for Ukraine to actually win. It says Ukraine is set to increase long-range attacks inside Russia as an influx of Western military aid claims to help Kiev shape the war in much stronger ways, said the head of the UK military. Very dangerous, this whole thing, isn't it? Attacking Russia on their own ground when Russia's the most powerful nation on Earth as far as nuclear weapons is concerned. They have more than anybody else. This is a dangerous game, or dangerous times we live in. The Houthis are still at it. Now, I know that they haven't made much news lately, too much, like they were making a lot of news, but evidently they've been at it all along, firing missiles at United States ships and so on, and trying to sink ships and firing on Israeli vessels and all kinds of stuff. But there's been so much other stuff going on right now that it's overshadowing the story of what the Houthis are doing. It says Yemen Houthis launched an attack on the United States Israeli vessels as warships defend. New attack comes 2 weeks after Iran-aligned group said it targeted 3 vessels and a U.S. warship. Well, the Yemen Houthis have certainly not given up, but there's just so much going on right now in the war theater that it's hard to maintain front page news. Now Macron, the leader of France, he says Europe can't rely upon the United States for security any longer. Or rely upon the United States for security. I don't know if he said any longer. I might have added that, sorry. It says French President Emmanuel Macron said that the American security umbrella is a thing of the past and that Europe needs to build its own credible defense strategy if it wants to survive even. So they're very concerned about Russia. Well, what they're doing right now is they're starting to build up a bulkhead. Poland right now. The Prime Minister of Poland, Duda, the United Kingdom is going to deploy Typhoon aircraft in Poland starting next year. But also, what we're seeing going on with Poland right now is Poland is starting to vie or think about installing thermonuclear weapons aimed at Russia directly in Poland. This sets up a bulkhead. It also sets up a massive deterrent for Russia at that point. Now, I see Russia going in there and putting missiles in Belarus aimed at us. I don't see anything wrong with putting a few in Poland aimed at them. You know what I mean? It's, in other words, this just creates, in my mind, just creates more of a deterrent. Less likely that I mean, they already got enough nuclear weapons to blow the world to smithereens. But a little bit more of a deterrent is all it would be. And it might work a charm, you know, and as far as I can see. I mean, there's not many other solutions in this situation. What they're trying to do right now is build up a bulkhead against Russian intrusion into that region. They're already intruding into Ukraine, moving into Ukraine, and then what's next? Well, there's the countries that surround Ukraine. There's Romania, Moldova, there's Poland, of course, right in that region, in Eastern Europe. All of those former countries that were all part of the former Soviet Union. You know? And so what we're seeing here is basically loggerheads are occurring in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, over that area that joins up with Russia. It's loggerheads between two superpowers right now. And, you know, I mean, anyway, so Duda here, he says the violation of airspace by Russian missiles is a provocation by the Russian Federation. And it risks sparking an even wider war, Duda says. And he's the president of Poland. So, it's kind of coming, the issue's kind of coming central right now into Poland. Poland is it's almost like the line. You got to hold the line, and Poland's becoming the line. That's what's happening right now, you know? Now, talking about Trump, the United States Supreme Court justices in the Trump case right now have signaled support for presidential criminal immunity. And this is according to the Globe and Mail. That says a lot right there to me. It says a lot about the situation involved with this whole thing right now. What's going on, how the pendulum is swinging in this election that's coming up. It's really setting up like it's going to be actually. I know you guys are probably have something to say about this. Probably say, well, that's a no-brainer. It looks like it's coming up to be Biden against Trump in this election coming. That's what the way it looks. And you guys are all going to be out there saying, hey, Glenn, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, but you know, with anything, you know, like anything, it's not sealed in stone until it's, you know, I use an old saying I've used for many years. As many a slip betwixt cup and lip. It's an old saying. I think it's come from the British. An awful lot of these sayings did come from the British, you know. And basically, like you're picking your wine cup up, you're going to take a sip, you know, and you spill it all over yourself. You're anticipating that sip of wine, but you actually trip or whatever, and it spills all over yourself. So never count your... Another saying is never count your chickens before your chickens have hatched, you know, sort of thing. So in Baltimore now, that bridge accident that they had, enormous bridge accident where the bridge fell into the water, evidently, they got it cleaned up enough now where they're allowing the first ship to pass through that area today. It took them a little while to clean that up. It's not easy, all that sunken cars and everything down there. Now, let's get in there and take a look at the financial markets. 27.21 for silver today. It's down 17 cents. Meanwhile, gold is having a better day. It's up 20 cents at 23.31. So gold's up a little bit and silver's down. Whenever that happens, it increases this thing that's been going on for a number of years now, where the gold to silver ratio is out of kilter. It's been out of kilter so long now that most people are getting used to it being that way, but it's not normal. All the way through history, it's never been like this, where you can buy anywhere between 80 and 100 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. That's ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. But things that are ridiculous sometimes can last longer than you think that they can last. But eventually, we all know that this is going to go back to a more normal ratio. What do you say? Well, Glenn, what's a more normal ratio? Probably about more normal, at least 30 or 40 to 1 would be much more normal. And where the ratio should be is how they come out of the ground at 10 to 1, roughly, or 9 to 1. That's where the ratio should be. You know? But 30 or 40 to 1 would be much more normal. That means that your silver's going to double its price against gold to get back to 30 or 40 to 1. And that means that eventually, when this thing goes back, that silver's going to be a better buy. And gold's not going to be at this price, $2,300, when it does get there, when silver gets back to a 40 to 1 or 30 to 1 ratio. Gold's going to probably be at least double what it is right now, you know? And so you're looking at a much higher price for silver. Silver is one of those things where if you store it away and you hang on to some of it, in a few years from now, it's really going to be something special, what silver's going to do. And when it gets to those heights, it's not ever going to come back down to where you see it now. So silver is for long-term savings. I think that nothing can beat silver right now as far as if you're keeping it for savings. It's the best of all of them. Now, I could be wrong about this stuff. This stuff could be even better if it does what it could do. But this stuff's an awful lot more risky, the cryptos. So we're looking at a Bitcoin price today of 63,982. Bitcoin's hanging in there around that price. It's almost like it's waiting or breathing, taking a little breather while it's in the middle of this bull market. Ethereum 31.31, and we're looking at XRP at 52.1 cents. Now the Dow Jones Industrials today, they're up 149 points, 38,324. And I think an awful lot's riding on what the bonds do over the next month or two on this market. Of course, you know now the Fed can go into yield curve control if they have to. And I think they will. They might already be doing it to a certain extent, but not telling anybody. I just don't know about that. I'm just speculating on that. Crude oil today is down 8 cents at 83.49. Now taking a look at the bonds, we're seeing this pattern has been playing out where, like yesterday, the bonds will rise 6 basis points roughly or something, and then today they fall 4. So they've been following this pattern, up, down, but it's been more up than down, so in the yields. And so the 10-year now, we find it at 4.66, and we find the 30-year at 4.77. And so it's creeping toward 5% on the U.S. 10-year. And if it exceeds that 5% and starts to move higher towards 6%, we're going to see that have an adverse effect upon the market if that happens. And what is yield curve control? Yield curve control on the long end of the yield curve would mean that they control the price like they do on the short end. They control the overnight rate. The Fed does. They set it. Well, they can do the same with the long end of the yield curve too, and they call that yield curve control. And they can control where the yields go. But it's terribly inflationary when they do that, because it means that they are monetizing the debt, basically. Anyway, Dow Jones, looking at the dollar index today, she's up today, and she's going up, clearly up today. I mean, this is a real up day for the dollar. And what's interesting is the fact that gold's going up too. That really says a lot. When the dollar's going up this steeply, basically, really, I mean, it's shooting up. The dollar is right now. And when you look back and you see gold today, where is gold? It's up 70 cents. Yeah, it's not up a lot, but the fact that it's up at all on a day when the dollar's going up this fast, that's big. That's a big bullish indicator for me on gold today. And where gold goes, silver goes. So if gold continues to rise, it'll draw silver up with it. Thank you guys for listening. Give me a thumbs up, and you guys have a great afternoon. And I appreciate you guys out there. Bye-bye.